Hey everyone, as promised on my Sunday daily financial news, I was doing something special. I don't normally do interviews on Sunday, but when I have a good friend of mine who's talking about doing 140 to 150 housing land development, I'm like, dude, I got to talk to you. I got to see what's going on. So let's welcome Tom Staub to the show. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, how you doing?
Well, first off, wow. I
Yeah.
saw the post yesterday. I saw the drawing. We're going to look at it in a little bit. I got to say, you're making moves. You're doing things that are very impressive. But before we get into that, I think it's important for both of us to step back and realize the journey in real estate doesn't start here, and
Oh,
frankly probably doesn't end here either. But let's remind folks where it all starts. Tom, I think people need to hear that and appreciate that. Everybody does start somewhere else.
oh yeah. I mean, 100%. 11, 12 years ago when I first bought my first property, which was a turnkey rental, I never imagined that I would be developing properties, right? And it's funny, every 2, 3 years, I found that something had morphed into something else throughout real estate, right? I bought a few properties initially, then I did some flips, then I bought some buildings, then I did, some primary lending, and now I'm buying land and developing it from ground up. And that's only in what, 11 years?
Yeah. And you've changed states how many different times?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know, every 2, 3 years, I'm in a different state. Yeah.
And again, the reason I like talking to folks like you who I consider a mover and a shaker and someone who's just hungry and thirsting for the next accomplishment is it just reminds me, frankly, that I need to do more, right? Compare and contrast us, right? I've never left my state, right? Frankly, my city, right? California is a huge state. I don't know, sixth or seventh largest economy, if you believe what they say, but I never left Fresno. Sure, I changed asset classes. I've gone from buy and hold to doing some flips, but I've never done ground up, never been out of state, never moved, right, for investing. And I'm like, dude, I'm going to follow Tom because he's got a
Yeah. But
great story.
what's interesting is you are also the epitome of the journey, right? Starting with what, one property back in
Yeah.
08?
Single family home in '02.
Oh, two. Yeah. See?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now look at you.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple hundred. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, this is not about me, but let's just remind somebody who might be watching this, probably going to click on the link because they see the title says 150 housing land development. We are going to get to that, folks. But
Sure.
before we do, uh, it doesn't have to start because this is going to be a big number. I mean, I have no idea what the land cost and what the construction cost. It's going to be a big number.
Yeah.
But my first deal, the sticker price was 107 and I needed 20 grand to get in. What was your first deal? Do you remember?
I do. It was 115.9, so 115,000 bucks, and I fought tooth and nail for 3 years to save that down payment.
Yeah,
I mean, and
exactly.
by the way, at that time I had massive student loans from my grad school and everything else, and that was costing me 1,400 bucks a month. So, I wasn't making a lot of money back in those days, and I had to scrape by to get that first payment.
Yeah, and again, a lot. When I always get nervous, right? When you and I go speak at meetups, we've actually done a couple of together.
Yeah,
I get really nervous telling everybody kind of the finish line. Hey, look at
yeah,
us now. I really want to spend time in the first 3, 4, 5 years, and I like to leave the audience with, you know what? If you can just get to four, that's awesome. When you get to four, then you can talk about 10. When you get to 10, you can talk about
that's
20.
right. That's
You can
right.
do all of those things. But I digress. We're going to celebrate you. Let me bring up this picture that you shared yesterday that just caught my attention.
Yeah, I just want to say it's one thing to buy land and kind of have the vision,
Yeah.
but when you actually see the vision, now obviously I blacked out some stuff here because it's confidential, but
Sure.
this is called a plat map, and this is really what you do is you go to an engineer and you say, hey, let's do a few studies. I'll also need the site plan, and they create a plat map. Every time I've done this now, and I've done this is my third time doing a plat map. It makes it come to fruition. And every time I dance around the house for 20, 30 minutes, and I'm like, yes, amazing. And I swear to you, I've played in bands. I've had my fair shares of parties. There's no better high than when you see your project come to fruition like this. It's phenomenal.
So I have a couple of just silly but awesome questions. So
Yeah.
this is your baby, right? This is
Oh
your
yeah.
plot map. Do you get to name the streets?
You do, yeah. So what's really cool is, yeah, you get to name the subdivision, the streets, the projects, the model homes, whatever. So Yeah, I mean, it's great.
So you, in theory, could, pay tribute to your mom and your dad and your
Yeah, I mean,
grandparents.
you can do
Just
whatever.
put them up.
Yeah, I think the logic is you try to incorporate some sort of nature aspect. So
Yeah.
like there's a subdivision near us called Juniper Pines because of the pine trees.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cliche, but more or less they use like tree names or local animals as part of the street name.
That's funny. Well, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So, this is kind of the end of a major phase and yet the beginning of the next phase. But remind
Yeah.
us what happened to get to this, because I'm guessing it wasn't quick and it probably wasn't cheap.
Man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many dozens of stories I have, but just starting from, again, owning turnkey rentals to understanding the power of leverage and scale, to using other people's money, to doing my own flips, to laying down on a mattress without a bathroom for 2 weeks in a flip project, living on site after I slipped my disc from doing tile work. So all the way to taking a risk on doing a glamping resort in Arizona, to the experience of working with local city councils and playing politics and really greasing the palms to get things done. I mean, there's so many experiences that it takes to get to this point.
Yeah.
But if you're open to that and new challenges and really pushing yourself to learn and grow, I mean, this is what comes of it.
Yeah. So when was the first time you saw this plot of dirt? Was it online somewhere? Did an agent bring it to you? Did you drive by it and figure it out?
I can't take credit I can't take credit for the location. I will say it's around Flagstaff, Arizona, which
sure
I heard of. It's a beautiful area. It's high desert, so it's pretty cool in climate versus the Phoenix area. And my good friend Eric, actually, who's my business partner, he's like the surfer dude, entrepreneur. He told me about the whole glamping business, and that's how we got into Arizona. And then I just became familiar with the land in the area and the demand and what people were doing there. And it's a completely different environment. It's a cowboy town of people who want to be self-sufficient, live off the land, have acreage and all that. And to do something like this, and your one podcast mate, Greg Dickerson, has a great course that talks about this. To discover the land, you really have to know the local market and do some research. And so just being there, you kind of see where things are growing, the path of progress. And this was the last piece of land in this one city available in the city limits. So we picked it up, 82 acres.
82 acres. So I think you said roughly 150 homes. So these are about half-acre lots, roughly?
So yeah, so it's interesting how, and again, each project's different, but what we're going to do is we're going to have half-acre lots as the standard, and that'll be about 90 lots, and then 60 will have a lot premium. If you want to pay additional 10, 15 grand, you get 3/4 of an acre.
Oh,
and
that
then
makes sense.
You'll see in the middle of this plat map, and we'll have more than that, but there's a little like park. We're going to have green space as well. In fact, we're spending $500,000 just on green space.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So, okay. I'm sorry. 82 acres, did you say?
82 acres. Yep.
All right. So 82 acres somewhere in Arizona near Flagstaff. So again, when did you or your business partner first see or come across this? Was it like 2 weeks ago or 2 years ago?
Land, as Greg will tell you, good land near city limits is scarce right now, very scarce. And so this is actually our third piece of land that we wanted to take down. And the first two were scooped up by local investors. And so last 2 months, we've been looking for land.
Okay.
But this concept has been in our mind for 2 years, right?
Right.
Start with the glamping resort. We are actually just finishing our first subdivision, and then take that capital, scale up to a bigger project.
Gotcha. Very cool. All right. So, wow. So, okay, you get the lot, you lock it up, you get an architect out there. So it took you roughly, it sounds like it only took you, I don't know, I guess 8 weeks to get to this point.
Yeah, I mean, so we're not even done yet, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So the typical process is the first 60, 90 days, you're just doing analysis to, pro formas, feasibility, working with engineers. Is it possible to even do this? They build the site plan. Then the next, what we're coming up to next is the deep dives with engineers in, surveys and septic design, sewage designs, the really nitty gritty of the project. And then in about 90 days, we'll lock in the final price. We'll lock in the capital flows, the exact phasing of the project, and all the builders right now I'm vetting out.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll probably have 3 or 4 builders to, yeah. Cause I mean, builders not that I've met this is a 2-year project once it starts.
Right.
So to build 75 homes a year for a builder is really hard.
Yeah.
So you have to bring in 3 or 4 builders to meet the demand and supply.
Very cool. So the expected close date of the land is still 60 days out ish?
Should be around June, July.
Yeah. And then you have financing, and you probably use the land to get the loan, the construction loans, and
so
kind of that.
Because we're not like the DR Hortons of the world. We'll have to put down probably 30-40% of, and then, so that'll be equity from investors mostly. And then debt will be 60% of it.
Okay. And then you're forecasting kind of 2 years once you break ground, from the first to the last house being developed.
Well, yeah. So it's interesting, right? I think it's paramount that we take, timing is really important, as you know.
Yeah. Rates
are low. I think they will stay low for some time. So we have to pounce on this for the next 24, 30 months at most. Right. It might keep going after that, but I don't have that crystal ball. So it's paramount that we get this thing done in the next 2 years, basically.
Yeah, I think you've heard you and I talk. I think the next year is a lock for low rates. I think the Fed can, I don't know if I want to say fake it or manipulate it. Past that, I think they start ticking up. And yeah, I think you're right. Kind of past 30 months. Yeah, you're rolling the dice. I mean, in theory, rates could double between now and 30 months, and that will change the landscape for housing, I think.
Above 5-6%, I think there's real danger. I don't think that's going to happen. I still think we're actually in a deflationary period. And there's for all your guests and yourself, I discovered this investor about 1.5 years ago. Her name's Kathy Woods. I'm a huge crush on her, love her to death. And she's
Kathy Woods from ARK Investments, right?
Yep, that's it. Yeah, she's great. And she has a tidbit on, there is inflation happening, but it's completely offset by the deflation of technologies and globalization. Tangent for now, but worth a watch. Yeah, I may have to start following her more and more. She's had a very hot portfolio of late. So more and more people are going that direction. So I'm going to look up Kathy and see what's what there. Yeah. But again, so this to me, this looks like a big chunk, right? So is this going to be your focus for the next 2 to 3 years? Like this is Tom Staub, right? For the next 30 months? Well, the thing is, probably 12 to 18 months in, I'll be looking for the next project.
That's fair.
Right. So, but yeah, I have 2 business partners on this. We're actually meeting in like Cancun in about 6 weeks to hammer out the exact. Yeah, it's great. So one thing about business I love to do is go somewhere, just get locked into a room, by a beach, and just hammer out all the details of this. So, And then, so if you want to go over the numbers, it's somewhat confidential, but I can talk to some things. Yeah. Well, I mean, if whatever you're comfortable with, let's give them a taste of what you got going on here. Yeah. So where do you want to start? You tell me, man, it's your baby. Okay. Well, and not to be braggadocious, but it's fun to talk about something this size, right? It's like a dream to ever have to, or have an opportunity to even move this kind of, project. So again, 140, 150 homes. Now, if we get into a situation where, for whatever reason, the market turns, we would just simply sell off the lots and not develop, and just hold it over time. But each of these homes, there's 3 different models. They range from $320 in price point to up to $475 in price point. Wow. Okay. Right. So if you had an average of 400, what is that times 150 homes? Is that like 600 million? 60 million. Oh, 60. I added a zero. 60. Yeah. Million. I wish it was 600 million. All right. So that's 60 million. Well, I guess that includes the lot. No, yeah. So because you're selling the lot with the house. That's right. Yeah. So price includes everything. Yeah. And your profit, right? It's all in, right? The project is a $60 million project, roughly. It'll range between $60 to $68 million. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. So. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Oh, just for comparison's sake, what is the next biggest deal you've been a part of, either as a LP or a GP? Just, I want to see the scale. Like 10 million? So it's 5 million? It's pretty wild. And this right now is what my lenders are talking about like, oh, can this team even handle this? Which I think they said yes, but we'll see. So our current subdivision, to put it into scale, is about $1.5 to $2 million in revenue.
Oh, okay. So we're going from a $2 million project to let's call it 65 million. We kind of split the difference.
Yep.
That's a 32x.
It's a huge jump. So, but the beauty of this, right, is our current project in some ways is more complex because when you build infrastructure, what really matters, as you can imagine, is economies of scale.
Sure.
Right. So like, for example, this infrastructure build out for the utilities, the sewer, the water is about $1 million.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if I had 10 homes, right, that's $100,000 per home for that build out.
Yeah.
Now, if I have 100 homes, that goes down to $10,000 per home.
Right.
But either way, I have to do the infrastructure build out.
Yep.
So that complexity is always there. It's more just, I think what it comes down to on these projects is definitely meticulous organization, being able to work with the teams. They have to execute. That's where the headaches exist.
Gotcha. Okay. That's very exciting. And again, you're going to need roughly 30 million in equity, or 30% in equity. Sorry, 30%. Yep. So you're going to need about 18 to 20 million bucks in equity, which I assume is going to be a raise with equity partners, I'm guessing.
So what's interesting about this is basically the way it works is, and here's the beauty of a development. Our equity raise is actually only 2 million and our debt's 3. Yeah. So what happens is you just buy the model homes, you put it on the property, you have an inside sales team, and then you just market the properties. And once a buyer buys it, they're the ones financing the project, not you.
So you're not doing, what did they used to call that? Spec builds. You're not building to spec. Yeah. You build the model, you sell the model, then you build.
That's right.
Genius. So again, you'll be into this project, I don't know, a couple $1 million, and then every time a house is built, you're peeling off your little piece at a time.
And I am maniacal about cash management,
of course,
and leverage. So the first thing I'll be doing in the first year and a half is paying back investors and paying off debt. And then after year 1.5, it's all gravy from there.
Exactly. That's how I would do it too. This is very, very cool. What else do you want to tell us about this exciting project? I'm going to close this window so we can.
Yeah. I mean, I think, it goes for anything, whether it be business, real estate, your own passions. I talk to people and it's amazing how many people have limiting mindsets. Just they don't think about the biggest goals possible. And I know Grant Cardone's kind of cliche, but his 10X idea, it's kind of point on. It's like, now obviously it takes time, right? But what do you actually want to do and accomplish? Set your goals big, and day by day you'll get there,
Yeah. You know what? That might be something you and you could help me with maybe sometime in the near future. Just have a brainstorming session where you lead the discussion. I'm struggling with some of that right now. So we could talk about that offline sometime.
Sure, yeah.
But that'd be fun. What else do you want to tell us? I guess the last thing I'll ask is, when do you put the first shovel in the ground or hammer in the 2x4? When do you have that date kind of circled out there?
Probably September. Okay. That's an exciting time.
Yeah, I bet.
When you see all the tractors and backhoes and excavators.
Well, do me a favor. Let's plan to do a Zoom call or whatever you want to call it, a FaceTime call or something when you're on the project, and we'll pull a we'll do a Greg Dickerson with have you walk through the project.
100%. Yeah.
Very cool, man. Congratulations. Very impressive. $60 million project, or 65. Good luck. Very impressive. You have a wonderful weekend. All right.
You too, sir.
Thanks.